This is actually biogas, a renewable energy. In the last 10 years, they grew up knowing that organic waste you don't throw to the garbage. It's actually a resource. On the left, you see mine peeling a potato to our bio bin. And on the right, you see Emma frying her egg. So they actually grew up knowing that organic waste is upcycled into gas for cooking and liquid fertilizer for the garden to grow more food. So the impact in my house in the last 10 years, we transformed more than 10 tons of organic waste into 6,000 hours of cooking gas and 24,000 liters of liquid fertilizer. This avoided 60 tons of carbon equivalent emissions, and of course, saving thousands of dollars. Now imagine this impact on my small household and multiply that by thousands and thousands of families across the world, over 6 continents and more than 100 countries. Imagine the impact on those families. Imagine the impact on the planet. So this is our impact in year 2021. We produced more than 15 million hours of cooking gas. We saved more than 124,000 trees, and more and more and more. So let's talk about the planet and the people in it. A few of the challenges. We know that the price of cooking energy has increased. The price of chemical fertilizer went through the roof. Untreated organic waste is contaminating our water, earth, and the air we breathe. And billions of people, 3 billion of people, cooking wood causes deforestation and the death of 3 million women and children every year by smoking inhalation. We believe that people want to do the change. They just need the right tool to succeed with. So the home biogas innovation is that we actually made biogas accessible, affordable, and easy to use all over the world. In just 2 hours of deploying, we totally changed the life of the family. So how does all this goodness work? You just throw your organic waste, food waste, animal waste, even human waste into the biogas system, and through an anaerobic fermentation process, biogas is produced for cooking and liquid fertilizer is produced to create more food. So our technology is actually helping us move from a linear economy to a circular economy by upcycling the waste. We opened Home Biogas, we started Home Biogas in a vision to transform the world of waste. We see waste as a resource that can better our lives today and our planet tomorrow. We develop technologies for schools, for businesses, for households, and for farms. In households, we enable families to produce their own energy, clean cooking gas. We enable farmers to produce their own liquid fertilizer to increase their yield. In this farm in Kenya, we increased the yield of corn, not we, he increased the yield of corn by 30% and decreased the use of chemical fertilizer in 50%. Now, this is an immediate impact on the family, but we have thousands of systems in Kenya. So imagine the impact in Kenya, nationally, and even globally. So actually, home biogas is a national infrastructure for waste management, energy, and fertilizer production in the household level. This is resilient. Okay, we're very happy to be part of educating the next generation. We have more than 400 systems today in schools, universities, and education centers across the world. Like homes and farms, we developed a system for hotels, restaurants, and other businesses. This way they can treat their waste on spot and generate energy and money, and save money. A research done by Vivid Economics for Gold Standard showed that actually 1 ton that is avoided in biogas is worth $465 value. In how does that happen? By upscaling the livelihood of people, financial savings, and better health. This is more than any other technology. We're currently collaborating with the United Nations, governments, NGOs, and private sectors. We will be happy to collaborate with all of you for the sake of our next generation, of all of our children. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Yair, for this inspiring presentation. We're still speaking now about materials and manufacturing, but from a different perspective. Now we're going to speak about transparent and agile supply chains. This is a topic that covers how we move things around. And efficiency in supply chains is probably one of the most interesting things that technology can tackle. Today with us we have Maya Zeron, who's Senior Manager of Customer Success in Williot, who will share with us their story. Maya.
Thank you for this opportunity to speak with you today. Israel and Williot specifically is at the heart of a new technology called ambient IoT, which is poised to become part of the 6G standard coming to a phone near you. We are a semiconductor chip designer that sells a cloud software technology that can help to better measure and reduce carbon. So what is ambient IoT? Ambient IoT is about going beyond connecting expensive things to the internet, like cars, appliances, and shipping containers. It's about connecting the individual products inside those things to the internet, like food, medicine, clothing, using postage stamp size computers like this. Let's see how CNBC's Clean Start explains what we do.
A tech startup tracking thousands of products across the supply chain in an effort to reduce waste. The company uses Bluetooth technology to monitor foods, medical supplies, and other items with limited shelf life. And businesses are signing up to manage their inventories and cut their carbon footprints. CNBC senior climate correspondent Diana Olick with us now, continuing her series on climate startups. Diana, how does this work?
Well, Shep, you may have heard of the Internet of Things, IoT. It means items that are embedded with sensors or software. And in the case of a startup called Williot, it's tiny tags attached to food, medicine, and other items that track every aspect of their lifespans in order to reduce waste.
It's this ability to drive a very lean supply chain with only just the right amount of products that are in the right place at the right time, which we think is one of the keys to solving climate change.
They do it with these stamp-sized computers powered by Bluetooth and attached to any product or packaging, from vaccines.
It allows us to measure the temperature, the location, the authenticity,
to zucchinis.
Each zucchini that goes into a crate joins a unique monitoring path.
Smart crates monitoring everything moving from farm to fork. Williot is working with label giant Avery Dennison, which is manufacturing millions of these tags and connecting them to the cloud so they can be tracked anywhere, anytime.
By knowing where a product is, what's happening to it, where it's from, you can act faster. And so it's about taking data and turning it into actionable insights.
Insights that ultimately work to decrease waste by monitoring delays and shelf life. Williot is seeing massive demand as the makers of just about everything strive to reduce their carbon footprints.
Last quarter, we quadrupled our revenue, and I expect when we leave this year, then that growth will be on an even steeper trajectory.
Statler says clients include some of the largest pharmaceutical, apparel, and grocery companies. Backers so far: Avery Dennison, Verizon Ventures, Amazon, PepsiCo, Samsung, and SoftBank. Total funding $270 million. And not only can this technology reduce waste, but it also enables companies to quantify far more accurately their carbon footprints from the point of manufacturing to consumption. That'll be really helpful for corporations as new regulations on emissions are clearly coming. Shep.
Diana, thanks very much. Walls of...
So back to presentation mode, please. Great. So let's think of climate change as a serious disease. If your doctor said you had an aggressive cancer, would you settle for an annual checkup? Obviously not, yet we're measuring our progress in carbon reduction with an annual report. If we are to make progress, we need to enable every department manager to see their carbon footprint on a daily basis. It's only then that we can empower everyone to think creatively about how to reduce their carbon footprint. We can do that by tracking every item in real time. Beyond measuring carbon, we can reduce 40% of our food. 40% of our food is wasted before it gets to our kitchens. We can drastically reduce that number. For example, if we see an inventory stuck at the back of the store, if we see it stuck at the back of the store, we can alert a staff member to fix that. If a product is stored at a high temperature, we can fix that too. But we can go beyond making our existing supply chains more efficient. We can revolutionize them. Today, manufacturers are in the dark to the consumption of their product, so they overproduce, making more products than they sell. This wastes raw materials and multiply overhead all along the supply chain. The solution is a move to demand chain, where demand signals from the home and the store inform production. When manufacturers can see sales and usage in real time, there will be massive reduction in costs and in carbon. Ambient IoT enables this. Ambient IoT is here today. With it, we can move to a real-time view of carbon that empowers the whole organization. Existing supply chains can be more efficient, and we can slash our carbon footprint when production matches consumption. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Maya. I think this story of Williot is pretty amazing. This company was not born or founded around climate change, but their actual impact is amazing. And that's only because there was a significant business opportunity behind this. So I think this can inspire us as Israeli high-tech, that it's not only the hydrogen technologies that can impact climate change, but also some other fields as well. We're now switching to land use, and that's how we impact our land. And we have some exciting companies here. We'll start up by climate-smart agriculture, and that's how we reduce our inputs, how we improve our soil health. And we have a great company with us, Groundwork BioAg, with their Chief Growth Officer and co-founder, Dan Grotzky.
Hi everyone, I'm Dan Grotsky, co-founder and Chief Growth Officer at Groundwork BioAg. It's a pleasure to be here. Thanks Planet Tech for giving us the opportunity to present at COP27. It's a real pleasure. There we go. This is a field of soybeans in Brazil. It's conventionally plowed, and they decided to cover 36 hectares of their field with our product. Our product is Rutella mycorrhizal inoculants. I'll explain a bit more about that pretty soon. But as you can see, the farmer got greater plant health, higher yields, in this case 22% higher yields, saved on fertilizers. In fact, our customers are seeing this all over the world. By the end of this year, we'll have covered 1 million hectares with our product, Rutella mycorrhizal inoculants, that increase yields, save on fertilizers, and protect plants against climate-related stress. So farmers are seeing higher yields, they're seeing fertilizer savings, they're seeing these protection against stress, and that's really what's been interesting them until now, and that's what catches their interest. It doesn't catch the interest of COP27, and that's really what I'm here to talk about now, and that is the last thing here, and that's carbon sequestration. So our products are based on mycorrhiza. This is a symbiosis between plants and fungi, whereby the fungi help the plants to absorb nutrients in the soil. Okay, and you get all of these benefits, but you also get permanent carbon sequestration, and that's really huge. Let's take a look underground. This is what it looks like. These are plant roots, so these large segments over here, and this is the fungus. So these are the spores of the fungus, these are the hyphae. That's the way it works underground. The fungus penetrates the plant root and effectively extends it in an underground web. The fungus accesses nutrients that the plants cannot access and mobilizes them and brings them into the root of the plant. This is the way plants have been growing in nature for 400 million years. Okay, but in agriculture, first we kill everything and then we try to grow plants. And so there's a need to restore, to bring life back into the soils. That's what we do. But what's really nice is that in doing so, we're not only benefiting the plants and benefiting the farmers, we're also benefiting the environment, because our products actually permanently sequester carbon. In fact, 20% of the carbon that is photosynthesized by the plants, by mycorrhizal plants, ends up in the mycorrhizae. And in fact, 60% of all of the plant-derived soil organic carbon is mycorrhizal carbon. It's attributed to the mycorrhizae. So it's very significant. It's a very significant portion of the soil organic carbon. Groundwork BioAg, at a glance, we expect to cover by 2030, we're not talking about 2050, we're talking about 2030. By 2030, we expect to cover 100 million hectares of land, okay? Right now we're doing that in 15 different countries. So this is scalable, it can happen worldwide. And that translates to 200 megatons of carbon by 2030 sequestered, okay? So far we've raised $40 million from leading ag tech and climate tech VCs. We have offices in 5 different countries, 70 employees, 2 production sites, both in Israel, and we're active in 15 different commercial markets. Once more, our products, mycorrhizal fungi, mycorrhizal inoculants, we improve agriculture, we improve the uptake of nutrients in the soil, better yields, less fertilizer, resilience to stress, carbon sequestration, permanent, even in conventional agriculture. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dan. We're switching now to our next topic. We have two companies in this area, Alternative Proteins, which is the fastest growing domain in Israeli climate tech by far. This area needs no introductions. We stop consuming livestock. We stop consuming proteins from the nature, and we create them and build them in alternative ways. We'll start with Lee Recht, VP of Sustainability from Aleph Farms. Lee.
So hi everybody. Thank you so much Uriel and Planet Tech and Dror and the Innovation Authority for having us here. This is a wonderful event. And I'm here to tell you a little bit about cultivated meat and how it can support climate action. So just giving a little bit, framing a little bit the context. Currently today we are utilizing way more resources than we have. And actually the food systems is responsible for about 1/3 of all global greenhouse gases. And within the food systems, we have 15% of all global greenhouse gases are coming from the meat sector. And thinking about that, we know that the meat sector needs to be an issue and a sector where we want to tackle and support. So what is cultivated meat? Cultivated meat is within the alternative proteins, and actually what it is producing meat using the same building blocks as currently the conventional beef production. We're using the cell. So we take a cell sample from a living cow. In our case, we use cow. We use beef, but we take a sample from a living cow, healthy. We don't need to slaughter it. And basically, we start producing it in a very, and we mimic a very natural, process of tissue regeneration that occurs within the animal, but this time we're doing it outside of the animal. When we look at the cattle industry today, it takes anywhere between 2 to 3 years of the full value chain. Cultivated meat, specifically in Aleph Farm, takes only 4 weeks. This is really critical when we're thinking about food security and we're thinking about resiliency in our supply chains, because we do want to be more and more flexible to the market, especially in uncertain times of global pandemics, of conflict, and of course of just general climate events. So last year we came out with a life cycle analysis for the industry total, and what we saw is that actually cultivated meat, when fueled by renewable energies, has the potential to reduce global greenhouse gases, the carbon footprint of beef production by 92%. It can also reduce fresh water use by 78%, 93% reduction in pollution, and over 95% reduction in land use, what actually allows us to be correlated directly to biodiversity. So Aleph Farm was established in 2017. We were established together with our CEO, Didier Toubia, with the Strauss Group and the Food Tech Incubator, The Kitchen, and with the Technion, the Israeli Technology Institute, together with Professor Shulamit Levenberg. The idea here is actually, we're not here to replace the food industry, but we are thinking about how we need to incorporate, also giving alternative ways of producing food, but also thinking about tradition, thinking about religion, community, culture, emotion that comes with food. And that's why when we created Aleph Farms, we really did put a focus mostly on thinking about not only the nutritional aspects of the alternative meat, but also the culinary aspects and the sensory aspects as well. What makes us a bit unique and kind of within the alternative protein and cultivated meat sector is, first of all, we're focused on a full tissue. So we are actually developing cultivated meat steaks. Second thing is that we use cells from natural cells. There's no GMO in our cells. We don't do any kind of genetic manipulation. Third is that we have a very clear scalable platform and very clear path for our cost parity and regulation pathway. And last, we have committed to becoming a net zero carbon company. So actually this was inspired by COP25. And when we left COP25, we understood that actually we want to build our company as a net zero carbon company from inception. A new concept, by the way. And we have now committed, back in 2020, we committed to becoming net zero within our production by 2025 and throughout our value chain by 2030. And of course, we have a very high comprehensive sustainability approach, not only in environment, not only in carbon, but also thinking about the financial aspects of sustainability, how we are part of the sustainable diet, and of course, also the social aspects. Because when we think about it, when we want to transition our meat sector, it's not only about the environmental aspects, it's also about social justice and the just transition. And actually, in last year at the UN Food System Summit, we launched a white paper that spoke about our vision of how we can transition the meat sector and incorporate cultivated meat and alternative proteins in general as something that will complement sustainable livestock agriculture. That with a much more inclusive solution, and I really am happy to share with you a link to this white paper, but saying that it is very important for us to say that we're not here to stop the meat sector, we're not here to replace livestock agriculture, we're here to support the transition. And last, I just wanted to announce, to share with you that there has been global endorsements on cultivated meat in the last year. The last report of the IPCC report mentioned cultivated meat as an actual potential technology that will help achieve our goals for 2030. Biden came out a couple of months ago with an executive order on biotechnology and biomanufacturing, and endorsed cultivated meat as a potential technology to support industries. And of course, Aleph Farm is one of the founding partners of an innovation sprint focused specifically on cellular agriculture by the Aim for Climate initiative. I'll be here outside until 2 p.m. and in general I'll be here for the full 2 weeks, so I'm happy to talk to anybody interested. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much, Lee. We have 3 companies left, 3 amazing companies, 3 CEOs, and we're still in alternative proteins. I'm very happy to welcome Aviv, the CEO of Free Milk, to share with us the story. Aviv?
Hi everyone, thank you Uriel, and thank you everyone for making this event happen. It's an incredible event and I'm happy to be here. In the next few minutes, I don't want to talk about the devastating impact of global warming, but I do want to talk with you about the unspoken contributor to this devastating impact. The leading unspoken contributor, or you could say the elephant in the room in this regard, which is, as you can see on the screen, the food that we eat. Like Leah said just a second ago, the food that we eat is responsible for 1/3 of the problem. 1/3 of the global greenhouse gas emissions come from the food that we eat, and specifically and primarily the meat and the dairy products that we consume, all the animal-based products. So in other words, basically you could say that the cheese you can see, the yogurt, the ice cream that we eat is actually responsible for more greenhouse gas emissions, and all animal-based products together for more greenhouse gas emissions than all forms of transportation combined. So when talking about climate change, you know, attacking and tackling 1/3 of the problem is definitely the way to go about it. When looking about let's say the problem from this angle, how you can solve something and change something that was, you know, was there for thousands of years. We've been consuming dairy products and meat products for thousands of years, and obviously that's quite hell of a challenge. And the way to go about it, as we believe in Remilk, is actually not by trying to convince consumers, you know, about climate change, about the fact that what I said, 1/3 of the problem comes from what we eat. But the better way to go about it is by utilizing one of the strongest driving force in the planet, which is our economy. And a few people here before me talked about it briefly, but when I'm saying economy, I'm talking about our need to compete on the marketplace with the same products that we are willing to replace. And in other words, we need to compete with cows on making milk, and we need to win. And we must win in this challenge, and the only way, as we believe in Remilk, to win this challenge is to have dairy products that taste just like an animal-based dairy product under the same cost, if not cheaper, than the animal-based product that we use today. And this is the way to go around it. And we've actually tackled this problem with this specific solution and finding a way to make the dairy, the same milk that cow is making without the cow. And in this way, we are able, again, to make this an indistinguishable dairy product. We are actually using yeast instead of cows. We are copying the instructions of the cow on how to make milk. It's actually a short sequence in its DNA that we are inserting into the yeast. And imagine like taking a recipe from the cow on how to make its milk, insert this recipe into yeast, allowing the yeast to grow and produce the same molecules that are the key molecules, the binding materials to make the dairy products that you can see here. And by fermenting the yeast, we end up with dairy products that will taste today just like a regular animal-based product. And again, talking about the bigger picture, we believe that's the way to go around it. We need to be better than what exists today. We cannot trust on consumers to make this shift because we are saving the planet. I'm sure that we all agree on this one. And in the last few years, Remilk have raised over $150 million to do just that, to scale up production of dairy products that are indistinguishable from the animal-based products that exist. And we are moving forward into commercial launch in the coming months across actually across the globe. So watch out very soon for our products in the retail coming in the next few months. Last thing I want to say in this regard, talking about revolutionizing something so ancient in a way. Milk, the first evidence for milk consumption go back as 7,000 years ago. Okay, we're trying to do something pretty unique, and what we believe is needed in order to scale it up is eventually, okay, and we believe Remilk is very close to achieving this ambitious goal of essentially eliminating the economic incentive from using animals in order to really transform the market through the power driven by economy. And with this, statement, I want to finish my short presentation, and thank you everyone, and join us for the revolution of the dairy industry.
Thank you so much, Aviv, for your words. We're switching up to our last area, which is nature, and the next topic is biodiversity. And everybody speaks about bees, but there's one company that is actually changing the way that we can save bees. I'm very, very happy that we have today with us Sal Safa, who is the co-founder and CEO of BeeWise, who will share with us how they save the bees.
Hi everybody. As we're waiting for the deck to come on, I'm Sar from BeeWise. Very excited to be here. and very excited to be among such amazing companies that we've heard here. Thank you, Uriel and Climatech for Planetech for having us. And in the next couple of minutes, I'll talk to you a little bit about bees. Let's see if, all right. There's a process. So I'm from a company called BeWise. We're a 4-year-old company, about 150 people strong. We're headquartered in California with R&D offices in Israel. And our goal, our mission, is to save the bees. All right. So I'll start by saying that 75% of all the fruit, vegetables, seeds, and nuts that we consume on the planet are pollinated by bees. Things like tomatoes, cucumbers, avocados, but not only the things we eat, coffee, right, cotton, even alfalfa, which is what our livestock eats. So bees are indirectly related to the dairy industry, the meat industry, and they're very important to our global food supply. And what does pollination mean? Just to kind of put this in perspective. Pollination is the act of taking male pollen and moving it to female pollen, and by that it results in fruit and vegetables. So there's really no alternative to natural pollination on the planet. And when I talk about pollination, I'm not talking about just random bees in the field. We're talking about commercial beekeepers moving boxes with bees into fields for pollination purposes. And this is happening for 7.5 billion people. So this is pretty ubiquitous all around the globe. If you want to eat a cucumber or a tomato or an avocado, chances are the flowers were pollinated a few months earlier. Bees are infrastructural to our global food supply. This is how we see them. You can have an amazing piece of land with great drip irrigation, great weather, but if you don't bring in the bees to pollinate, you're not going to get much of a crop, right? At least not at the commercial scale we need. But like in every good story, there's a twist. And in our case, we're losing the bees. I'm sure some of you heard about the bees and how we're losing them, but the numbers are staggering. We are losing 35% of the global bees on the planet every year, year over year. This is not just bees dying. Bees only live for about 3 months. This is entire colonies that collapse, sometimes referred to as colony collapse disorder. And this is a big problem, right? And it's driven by a variety of issues. So it's not just one issue that we need to tackle. It's a plethora of challenges that actually amplify each other. So imagine a bee that is sick because it has a disease, and then it gets poisoned by pesticides in the field, and then it has a sudden cold spell or a weather change. It doesn't stand a chance. So the planet changed in the last 50 years, but the bees have not adapted. So I liked one of the slides that I saw earlier by, I can't remember who it was, that talked about adaptation, right? How we allow, thank you for that, how we allow, there's 2 ways to help climate. One is solve the actual problem, then the other one is also help us adapt. So what we're trying to do is help the bees adapt to modern stressors that they're experiencing in today's planet. Now, the real problem is, right, let's kind of break it down to what the real issue is. The problem is that demand is going up significantly, right, because we want more and more produce. Population is growing, more people are coming out of poverty, there's a lot more awareness to healthy diets, right? So we want more of the bees product, but the supply of the bees is going down, and this gap is really what endangers our global food supply. It's a real danger considering 75% of all the fruit and vegetables are pollinated by bees. And you know, how is this all connected to climate change? So most of us here, due to the global warming and climate change, and when I say climate change, intuitively what I think about is carbon in the air, you know, rising sea levels, and many other issues. But with bees, right, at a 35% colony collapse every year, we're talking about 15 to 25 years of us getting to the point of no return where we don't have enough bees to pollinate our global food supplies, right? And that's a big, big issue. And this is why we exist. We exist to try and prevent this from happening. Welcome the bee home. The bee home is a device that houses colonies of bees. We have multiple devices and multiple form factors, and it actually allows the bees to live inside this device just like a regular beehive. The bees come in and out to forage in the field, but inside this device, there's actually a robotic system, and we have a small device on our table over there. You can come and see it. It's not working, but it just gives you an idea. But the robot system actually monitors the bees 24/7, identifies what the bees need using artificial intelligence, and then using precision robotics, it actually addresses the bees' needs inside this device. It can feed the bees, it can provide them water, it controls temperature, it can prevent pesticides from coming in, and many more other features. So it allows the bees not only to survive, but actually to thrive despite the modern stresses that they're experiencing. So, you know, I'm a technologist. This is the field that I love, and I'm very passionate about technology. I believe that technology can save almost any challenge that we have on the planet. But I'm not here to talk about the technology, but actually about the results, right? So our, the industry benchmark we're looking at is 35% colony collapse around the globe every year. Inside our device, we experience 7.59% colony collapse, meaning we're reducing colony collapse by 70%. Not only that, we're actually increasing the yields by 50%, both on pollination and honey production, right? I haven't even talked about honey production, which is basically a byproduct of pollination. Now, these two things are super important when you think about land usage, right? When you think about carbon in the air and how we reduce all that by increasing yields and saving the bees. Like I said, we're 4 years old. We raised some capital. We were very fortunate to have backers and win some awards that we're very proud of. Thank you for listening and for being here. We're here to save the bees, secure the global food supply, and always never forget, do well by doing good. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sar. Speaking about adaptation, we're going on now for the last company presenting today. Super exciting in the extreme weather events domain. We used to speak about carbon, but climate is much more than this. Right now, all over the world, and in the next years, we're going to experience climate change. And Tomorrow.io provides some solutions to this. So Shimon Kabetz, co-founder and CEO of Tomorrow.io, happy to invite you to stage.
All right, so before we get everything ready, I'm Shimon, the CEO of Tomorrow.io. Obviously, I'm overdressed. It's not going to happen again. So I'm going to try to make it a bit more entertaining because I'm the last, barrier between you and lunch. So Tomorrow.io is a company that started out of Boston by 3 Israeli entrepreneurs. And we basically look at climate change from a little bit different angle. We're saying that climate change is here. And the biggest and most visible impact of climate change is the fact that weather events simply become more frequent and more volatile in any given geography every year. We have more hurricanes, more typhoons, more cyclones, heat waves, wildfires, and whatnot. And what we're saying is that we need to start putting systems in place in order to manage this new reality. This is probably the most direct angle to attacking climate adaptation. Even if we're very successful in decarbonization programs, which I really hope we will be, we're only going to see the impact of it by 2050, 2030, in the best case. But this afternoon, we already have weather-related challenges to manage and deal with. So our mission as a company is to help both countries and businesses better manage their weather-related challenges. We work across a lot of industries. We started the company in 2016, raised over $250 million, about 200 employees, many PhDs. And we look at industries like supply chain and logistics, airlines and aviation in general, energy companies from renewables to utilities. We work with tech companies, on-demand companies, believe it or not. The people that get the food delivery to you are highly impacted by weather, all the way to car companies and governmental agencies, NOAA, NASA, the US Air Force, and others. So now that you know who we work with, what is it exactly that we do? Eventually, our software is providing weather intelligence for every job in every vertical. Weather intelligence is basically the ability to help you make decisions at scale. It's telling you what to do. For a rail company, stop the train operations because you're going to have a derailment risk. For a farmer, we're telling you when to spray or not to spray, or when to irrigate. For any tech company, we can offer the ability to better predict the demand for services, all the way to energy, where we tell renewable company what will be the generation tomorrow. So how do you do that? How that software is actually providing this valuable and very accurate insight around the world? We have a very complex architecture that starts from collection of a lot of observations. This is how you start to generate a weather forecast. You need to understand what's happening in real time. So we collect a lot of data. I'll talk more about that. We then run physical models on HPC in the cloud. We do some machine learning on the post-processing, and everything is helping us create specialized forecasts around air quality, flood, precipitation, and whatnot. And this is what's feeding our software, as you can see here, that provides the recommendations for action. So that's a whole different level of science beyond the software that is doing that. Now we're embarking on one of the most important projects, not only for tomorrow, I dare to say for the world. Weather forecast is very inaccurate if we don't know what's happening in real time. And the most important sensor to understand what's happening in real time is radar. We have a significant inequality when it comes to weather radar coverage in the world. Basically, over 5 billion people do not have radar coverage. And they do not have, as a result, farmers insurance, because you cannot use parametric insurance, reliable flood alert, reliable general weather forecast. The livelihood of many people is at risk because of that. And beyond that, the oceans and the seas are not covered. And guess what? Every cyclone, hurricane, typhoon, it's all coming from the ocean. So we basically have a camera or infrared taking pictures of the hurricanes instead of doing an MRI and actually contributing it to the model so we can better know if it's going to be category 1, 2, or 3. So it's a huge problem. And just to give you an understanding of what is it that we're doing to solve it. Starting in a few weeks, we're starting the launch of a constellation of about 30 satellites that we built from scratch. They are equipped with sensors that we built, active radar and microwave sounders. But the idea is that by the end of 24, we're going to create a global coverage of near real time for every point on Earth. That's going to drive a revolution in weather forecasting, in climate science, in the ability to provide flood alerts, parametric insurance for every citizen in the world, and on and on and on. And it's going, remember the architecture I showed you, to our models and to our software. So the recommendations that we give to someone in Kenya around fertilize or harvest today because tomorrow a locust is going to hit your field is going to be much more reliable and accurate. So here today, we're in COP27 and we're announcing a few initiatives in Africa. We're very focused in trying to help the continent around livelihood and agriculture. And it's about the ability to provide reliable alerts, to monitor assets, to provide insights to people that need it in the right time and in the right place. And again, by innovating on space and weather modeling and climate modeling all the way to software, these are 3 different companies in one, we can really create a significant impact. Obviously, we're a for-profit business. That's why a few years ago, we have a guest here who just entered. We started tomorrownow.org, which is a nonprofit that we were the first investor of that nonprofit, but today our biggest partners over there are the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. And the idea of tomorrownow.org is to take our technology and other technologies and bring it to areas where we want to help and create big impact. And the first focus is in Africa. I can proudly say that we're already creating valuable insights on a daily basis to over 5 million farmers in Kenya. And one of the things we're going to do, unrelated to tomorrownow.org, is that over 100 countries in the world do not have a reliable meteorology agency. If you look at what we do as a company, this is actually a meteorology agency in the highest level. So we are starting to become the meteorology agency for many countries. And soon we're going to announce the first few countries that are going to enjoy that technology from us. So thank you so much for listening, and good to see you.
We've just seen the 10 leaders of Israeli climate, not just climate tech. These people are literally changing the world. You've seen it. It's a real thing. And the common thing for all of them is that they aim to tackle climate change, but they also aim for the impossible, getting us to drink real milk that was not coming from cows, getting us to see weather everywhere in the world, as a software company launching satellite to space, getting our soils sequester carbon in a way that was never seen before, helping the bees, generating hydrogen, generating energy, changing our industries. These 10 companies, these 10 people that we've seen just now are the leaders. I hope, I believe that they are going to lead and inspire the next generation of entrepreneurs. And in the years to come, we'll see dozens of innovators and leaders such as these people. Thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of the day. The companies are here until 2 p.m. Thank you.